I didn't think buying a car would turn into a reason to get kicked out of my parents' house. But here we are. Honestly, if someone had told me this story 2 years ago, I would have thought they were exaggerating. But this happened. To me. And it wasn't about the car, not really. It was about control, and what happens when you finally try to take a little of that back for yourself. I was 26 when this started, still living at home, not because I was lazy or anything. I had a job, paid rent, chipped in on groceries, mowed the lawn every Sunday without fail. I just wasn't ready to move out yet. Rent was through the roof, and my job paid okay, but not enough to do everything at once. So staying home made sense, at least financially. My parents seemed cool with it, most of the time. My mom always said it was nice to have me around, and my dad, well, he wasn't the sentimental type, but he liked having me there to help fix things or carry the heavy stuff. I'd been saving up for a car for over a year. Not some flashy thing, just something decent, reliable, good gas mileage. The one I'd been driving since high school was on its last leg. You had to jiggle the key just right to start it, and the passenger door didn't open unless you kicked it near the hinge. But it got me to work, and that's what mattered until it didn't. One morning, I'm halfway to the office and the engine starts rattling like a soda can full of rocks. I pull over, smoke pouring out, and I just sit there thinking, okay, this is it. So I call a tow truck, get it hauled to a shop, and they tell me the repairs would cost more than the car was worth. That night, I decided it was time. I'd saved up enough for a decent down payment and had been pre-approved for a loan through my credit union. I spent the next couple of days checking listings and finally found a used Honda Civic in great shape. Low miles, clean interior, newer tires. I was excited, proud even. I felt like I was finally doing something for myself. But here's the thing. I made one mistake. Just one. I asked my dad if he'd co-sign for the loan, not because I needed him to cover anything, but because I thought it'd help get a slightly better interest rate. He said, sure, no problem. I didn't think much of it. He even went with me to the dealership. Saturday across the desk from the finance guy. Nodded along like everything was fine. Signed the papers. And that was that, or so I thought. The next morning I walk outside to admire my new car, that feeling you get when you buy something big with your own money. It's like a high. I even washed it before work, which I never do. Then at breakfast, my dad says, nice car. I smile and say, thanks. I'm really happy with it. He looks at me over his coffee and says, well, technically it's mine. I laugh. I think he's joking. I say, yeah, on paper maybe, but it's my money, my loan payments, my insurance. He doesn't laugh back. He just shrugs and says, still, it's in my name. That means something. And I just sit there for a second, unsure how to respond. I mean, yeah, technically the title was joint, but I'd put down every dollar. I was going to make every monthly payment. It was my car. But that morning, something shifted. The energy in the house. The way he talked to me. Like I owed him something. Like he'd done me a favor, and now he owned a part of me too. At first, I brushed it off. Figured maybe he was just being, I don't know, weird about it. But then little things started happening. He took my keys one night to move it out of the way, and then went for a drive without asking. He started telling people, friends, relatives, that we got a new car, like it was his. One time, I came home from work and found him in the driver's seat, adjusting the mirrors, the radio, acting like it was his Sunday toy. And every time I brought it up, he'd just go, relax. I signed for it, didn't I? Or, you wouldn't have gotten that deal without me. My mom just told me not to stir things up. He's just proud, she said. Don't take it personally. But it felt personal. It felt like the car had become this weird power play. And I didn't like how it made me feel like I couldn't fully own something I paid for. Then came the breaking point. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'd made plans to take a drive out to the lake with a few friends, nothing wild, just get out of town for a bit, breathe. I had my cooler packed, grabbed some snacks, music queued up, and I walk out to the driveway, and my car's gone. I stood there for a good 10 seconds, just blinking like maybe I'd parked it somewhere else and forgot. But no, I always parked in the same spot. I texted my dad, trying not to sound accusatory. Hey, did you take the Civic out today? 10 minutes later, he replied, had to run errands. Be back soon. No heads up, no request, no keys left behind. He just took it, like it was his. And at that moment, something inside me cracked. I waited in the garage, arms crossed, trying to cool off. 35 minutes later, he pulls up like it's just another day. Tosses the keys to me like he's doing me a favor. Got gas, he says. I asked him, why didn't you ask? And he gives me this look like I'm overreacting and goes, you live under my roof, I don't need to ask. That's when I said it. The thing I'd been holding back for weeks. Yeah? Well, maybe it's time I stop living under your roof. The second I said it, I regretted it not because it wasn't true, but because I knew what was coming next. His expression hardened. His voice dropped a little. If you're gonna act like that, maybe you should start packing. My mom came in from the kitchen and stood between us, trying to keep things calm, but neither of us was in the mood. He kept saying things like, "You're not grateful. This is how you repay us?" And, "You wouldn't have that car without me." I said, "You didn't buy the car, you signed a form. I've paid every dime. I maintain it. I insure it. It's mine." He said, "Legally it's not," and that's when it hit me. He meant it. He wasn't just being petty. He genuinely believed that because his name was on the paperwork, he had ownership not just of the car, but of my choices, my independence, my space. That night, things got worse. My mom sat me down and asked me to apologize. Not for anything specific, just to keep the peace. I asked her, "Would you be okay with someone taking your car without asking?" She looked down and said, "This isn't about the car, it's about how you talk to your father." And that told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't going to get better. Not unless I gave in, stayed quiet, let them blur the lines between support and control. So I started looking for apartments the next day. I didn't say anything. Just kept my head down, went to work, came home, saved every spare dollar. I figured I'd find something within a couple months. That was the plan, until they changed the timeline. 2 weeks later, I came home from work, and my boxes were sitting in the hallway. My clothes, shoes, random stuff from my room all packed up. My dad was in the kitchen drinking coffee like it was a normal Tuesday. I asked, "What's going on?" He said, "You said you were moving out. We're just helping you along." I asked, "You're kicking me out?" He shrugged. "We're just giving you a head start." I looked at my mom, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Just kept stirring the pot on the stove like she couldn't hear us. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But all I could do was nod. "Okay," I said. "Got it." I went to my room, sat on the bed, and stared at those boxes. Some weren't even mine. They'd packed old stuff from the attic, books I hadn't touched in years, a pair of shoes that didn't fit anymore. It wasn't just a push, it was a shove. They wanted me gone. Not next month. Not eventually. Now. So, I packed the rest of my things. Called a buddy from work, asked if I could crash on his couch for a few days. He said yes, no questions asked. And that night, I left. No goodbye, no hugs, just me, my boxes, and a car I no longer felt safe leaving in the driveway. It was the first time in my life I felt completely untethered, not from money, or housing, or work, but from the people I thought were supposed to love me unconditionally. I drove away from that house, and something in me knew I wasn't just leaving for the night. I was leaving for good. The first couple nights on my buddy's couch were rough. Not because he wasn't welcoming, he was great, honestly. Gave me space, didn't ask questions I wasn't ready to answer, but I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything: the way my dad tossed my keys like I was some kid borrowing his toy, the packed up boxes, my mom stirring that damn pot like silence was safer than standing up. I wasn't angry at first. I was just hollow. Like the bottom fell out and I couldn't feel the ground under me anymore. I didn't reach out to them. I thought maybe they'd call. Maybe mom would send one of her just checking in texts. But nothing. Not a single word. Days turned into a week, then two. And then one day, I came back to my car after work, and it was gone. At first I thought it got towed. Maybe I parked too close to a hydrant or something. I walked around the block, called the local impound lot, nothing. That sinking feeling in my gut told me to check one more place. I called the finance company, gave them the loan number, asked if it had been repossessed. They said no. Then the guy paused and asked, "Wait, are you the primary or the cosigner?" I told him I was the one making all the payments. He said, "Well, our system lists the cosigner as the primary contact. He called earlier this week to request a duplicate key." My chest went cold. I hung up, grabbed my phone, and called my dad. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. So I called my mom. She picked up, and I'll never forget the first thing she said. "You shouldn't have left it where he could find it." That was it. No hello. No, "How are you?" Just that. I asked her, "Did he take my car?" And she said, "It's not stealing if it's his too." I couldn't even speak. I hung up, hands shaking. That car was the only thing I had left my transportation, my proof that I could stand on my own. And they took it, not because they needed it. Not because they cared about the payments. They took it because I walked away, because I didn't fold. That night, I took an Uber back to my friend's place and called the police. Filed a report. Explained the whole situation. The officer was polite, but I could tell he'd seen this kind of mess before. Technically, he said, if both names are on the registration, it's a civil issue. You'll need to go through court if you want to resolve it. So that's what I did. I filed a motion to have the title transferred solely to me. I had the receipts, the payment history, the insurance in my name. My lawyer, same one who helped my coworker with a rental dispute, said, I had a strong case, but it would take time. Months maybe. And until then, I didn't have a car. Getting to work became a nightmare. I borrowed bikes, took the bus, sometimes even walked halfway before catching a ride. My savings drained faster than I could refill it. Every time I passed a silver Honda Civic on the road, my stomach turned. I'd wonder if it was mine or theirs now. And then, one night, I saw it. Parked outside a grocery store a few blocks from my old house. Same little dent on the bumper, same sticker on the back window I'd put there myself. I stood across the parking lot and just stared. I wanted to go over, yank open the door, take it back. But I knew better. I wasn't going to win this with anger. I had to play it smart. So I waited. Waited for court dates. Waited for a chance to speak. And while I waited, I got my own place. Tiny studio apartment above a laundromat. The floors creaked, and the water pressure sucked, but it was mine. All mine. First time in months I felt something close to peace. I'd sit by the little window at night and tell myself, you're okay. They can't take this from you. But the worst part? The guilt. Not guilt for anything I did, but guilt that it even came to this. That I had to fight my own parents in court just to prove I didn't owe them ownership of my independence. That every holiday passed with silence. That no one came looking. No one said sorry. And deep down, I knew even if I won, I'd still be losing something I'd never get back. Court day came faster than I expected. I wore the only suit I owned, hands sweating through my button cuffs, trying not to fidget as I sat across from my parents in that gray, echoey courtroom. My dad didn't look at me. Not once. My mom glanced over a few times, like she wanted to say something but couldn't get the words out. They weren't there as my parents. They were there as co-owners on a vehicle I bought, paid for, and maintained entirely on my own. Their lawyer painted a picture like they'd supported me into adulthood. Talked about shared responsibilities and informal agreements between parent and child. It was polite on the surface, but under all those legal words, the message was loud and clear. He owes us. Then my turn came. My lawyer stood, laid out the payment history, the loan documents, the insurance files, all in my name. Every receipt, every maintenance log, every automatic transfer from my bank account to the loan provider. She even had text records of me asking my dad for permission to change the registration, and him refusing. I sat there, quiet at first, just listening. But when the judge asked if I wanted to make a statement, I stood up. I didn't read from anything. I just spoke. I told the truth. About working 2 jobs after high school. About saving for that car for over a year. About how I asked my dad to co-sign to save a few bucks on interest, not to give up ownership. About how I was never late on a payment. Not once. I told them about the night I found my stuff in boxes. About how it felt when your own family makes you feel like a tenant, not a son. And I ended by saying, this isn't about a car, it's about respect, and I'm done begging for it. There was silence for a long moment. The judge nodded slowly, thanked both sides, and said she'd issue a ruling by mail. That was it. No dramatic ending, no gavel bang. Just an empty feeling and the sound of lawyers shuffling papers. A week later, the letter came. The ruling was in my favor. Full ownership of the vehicle transferred to me. My name on the title, their names removed. The court recognized that the payments and responsibility had been mine from day one. I held the letter in my hands, read it twice, then just sat on the edge of my bed and let out this deep, strange breath. It wasn't joy. It wasn't even relief. It was something quieter. Like my body was finally giving me permission to let go. I went to pick up the car the next morning from the impound lot, where it had been towed after the ruling. It was still clean inside, my old hoodie in the back seat. The scent of that lemon air freshener I'd hung months ago, still faint in the air. I sat behind the wheel and just held the steering wheel for a few minutes before I turned the key. It started right up. Smooth. Steady. Like it had just been waiting for me to come back. I drove through the old neighborhood once, not stopping, just passing by. Their house looked the same. Same porch, same curtains. Same wind chimes that always annoyed me when I was trying to sleep in. I didn't slow down. Didn't need to. I wasn't looking for a confrontation or closure. Just confirmation that I didn't live there anymore and that I was okay with that. These days, I've got a new apartment across town. Small, but it's mine. I hung up shelves myself. painted the walls a warm gray. Every piece of furniture, every pan in the kitchen, every light bulb, it's all mine. I still drive that Civic, still change the oil myself. And every time I sit in the driver's seat, I'm reminded that standing up for yourself doesn't always feel good. It's not always some Hollywood ending. Sometimes, it just means protecting your name, your space, your peace. People ask if I've talked to my parents since. The answer is no, not really. A couple of forwarded emails about tax stuff. One happy birthday text from my mom with a heart emoji and nothing else. But beyond that, no calls, no visits. And you know what? That's okay. Because what I learned through all this is that blood doesn't automatically mean respect. And love, if it comes with conditions, isn't really love at all. I still miss the idea of family sometimes, but I don't miss the feeling of walking on eggshells in my own home. I don't miss wondering if something I own is truly mine. And I sure as hell don't miss having to justify every step I take toward becoming my own person. So if you've ever had someone try to take credit for your growth or worse, try to control it. I hope you remember this. Your freedom is worth more than their pride. And sometimes, leaving isn't the betrayal. Staying quiet is, I didn't get kicked out because I did something wrong. I got kicked out because I finally did something right. And I'd do it again. Every time.